Welcome to Drift Away Stories. I'm here to take you on a peaceful journey through time and adventure, where you become the hero of history's greatest moments. Get comfortable, close your eyes, and let your mind drift away as we explore worlds beyond your imagination. If these stories help you find rest and escape, consider subscribing for more adventures. And let me know in the comments where in the world you're listening from tonight. Now, let's begin your journey. The morning fog lifts slowly from the 7 hills of Rome as you make your way through the empty streets toward the palace. Your boots echo on cracked stones that once carried the footsteps of merchants, senators, and citizens from every corner of the known world. Now, in the year 476 AD, barely 100,000 people remain in a city that once housed over 1 million souls. You are Marcus Aurelius Corvus, a centurion in the Praetorian Guard. And though you don't yet know it, you are about to witness the end of the Western Roman Empire. Your name carries the weight of history. Marcus Aurelius, like the great philosopher-emperor who ruled nearly 3 centuries ago, your comrades often joke that the gods must have a sense of humor, giving such a noble name to a soldier destined to watch the empire's final chapter. But there is nothing amusing about the reality you face each day as you struggle to maintain order in a realm where imperial authority crumbles more completely with each passing season. You are 42 years old, a veteran of 23 years of military service that began in the frontier province of Pannonia, where your father commanded an auxiliary unit defending the Danube frontier against Germanic tribes. Even then, those barbarian peoples pressed relentlessly against Rome's borders, testing the strength of legions that had once seemed invincible. Your childhood was spent in military camps, where the sounds of weapons training and the sight of defensive preparations provided constant reminders that Roman civilization existed only through the strength of its armies. The education you received in those frontier communities emphasized practical skills over rhetorical flourishes. You learned to read terrain for tactical advantage, to maintain equipment under harsh field conditions, and to lead men who faced death as a routine aspect of their profession. But you also mastered Latin with a facility that exceeds most civilians, studied the military histories that recorded Rome's greatest victories, and absorbed the values of duty, discipline, and sacrifice that supposedly distinguished Romans from the barbarians who coveted their lands and wealth. Your rise through the military hierarchy followed the traditional pattern of promotion based on competence and courage, demonstrated in actual combat rather than political connections or financial influence. The Germanic raids that plagued your youth provided ample opportunities to prove yourself in the small unit actions that characterize frontier warfare, while larger campaigns against Gothic and Vandal confederations tested your ability to command substantial forces under the pressure of battles that could determine the fate of entire provinces. The first real test of your leadership came during a major Gothic incursion when you were barely 25 years old. Your century was cut off from the main force during a river crossing, surrounded by enemy warriors who outnumbered you 3-1. The situation seemed hopeless, but you managed to organize a defensive position that held until reinforcements arrived. More importantly, you kept your men together through a night of constant attacks, maintaining discipline and morale when lesser leaders might have seen their units disintegrate. That victory earned you recognition from senior officers who had served throughout the empire, men whose experience provided perspective on the broader challenges facing Roman military forces. They spoke privately about the increasing difficulty of recruiting Roman citizens for military service, the growing reliance on barbarian federates whose loyalty was questionable, and the financial crisis that made it impossible to maintain the legions at full strength. Your transfer to the Praetorian Guard 15 years ago seemed like recognition of exceptional service and a reward for decades of faithful duty on the empire's most dangerous frontiers. The position offered prestige, better pay, and the prospect of enjoying the cultural amenities and political excitement that made Rome the center of the civilized world. Your family was excited about the move to the capital, where your children could receive the best education available, and your wife could enjoy the sophisticated society that imperial status provided. But the Rome you encountered upon arrival bore little resemblance to the glorious capital described in the histories and celebrated in the poetry that proclaimed its eternal greatness. The city that had once boasted over 1 million inhabitants had shrunk dramatically, its population depleted by plague, economic collapse, and the constant migration of ambitious Romans to Constantinople, where the Eastern Empire offered opportunities that the West could no longer provide. Entire districts lay abandoned, their magnificent buildings stripped of valuable materials by scavengers who cared nothing for architectural heritage when bronze and marble could be sold for immediate necessities. The great public baths that had demonstrated Roman engineering skill and provided social centers for citizens of all classes had closed due to lack of fuel and maintenance costs. The elaborate drainage systems that had kept the low-lying areas of the city habitable had collapsed, creating stagnant pools that bred disease and made entire neighborhoods uninhabitable during the rainy season. The Forum, which had served as the political and commercial heart of the empire for centuries, had been reduced to a marketplace where scavengers sold bronze fittings stripped from abandoned buildings, and farmers from the surrounding countryside offered produce in exchange for whatever goods or coins Romans could still provide. The magnificent temples that had demonstrated Roman piety and imperial wealth stood largely empty, their priesthoods reduced to a handful of elderly men who maintained ancient rituals for audiences that no longer believed in their efficacy or relevance. Your duties as a Praetorian centurion had evolved far beyond the ceremonial guard functions that characterized the position during the empire's prosperous centuries. Instead of protecting an emperor who commanded respect and obedience throughout the Mediterranean world, you found yourself serving as both bodyguard and military advisor to a succession of weak rulers who depended entirely on barbarian federates for the armed force needed to maintain even the pretense of imperial authority. The current emperor, Romulus Augustulus, is barely 16 years old, a boy whose only qualifications for imperial office are his father's political connections and his willingness to serve as a figurehead for the barbarian king Odoacer, who exercises real power throughout Italy while maintaining the fiction that Roman government continues to function. The youth's nickname, Little Augustus, reflects both his age and the diminished status of an office that once commanded the loyalty of legions from Britain to Mesopotamia, but now struggles to maintain control over central Italy. Your relationship with the boy emperor combines paternal protectiveness with professional frustration as you attempt to prepare him for responsibilities that would challenge experienced statesmen while knowing that his actual authority extends little beyond the palace walls. His education has been neglected in favor of survival skills that seem more immediately relevant. How to recognize poison in food or wine, how to identify potential assassins among supposed allies, how to escape from the palace if political circumstances require rapid departure. The traditional imperial training in rhetoric, law, and administration appears pointless when the empire possesses neither the resources nor the institutional continuity needed to support such sophisticated governance. Instead, the boy learns basic diplomatic protocol that might help him negotiate with barbarian leaders, elementary military knowledge that could prove useful if he ever commands troops in battle, and practical skills like languages and crafts that might serve him well if political circumstances force him to live as a private citizen. The palace, where you spend most of your time, has become a gilded prison where the trappings of imperial majesty mask the reality of powerlessness and isolation. The magnificent halls that once hosted diplomatic receptions for envoys from across the known world now echo with emptiness, their marble floors and frescoed walls maintained by a skeleton staff who work more from habit than hope. The imperial treasury, which once financed armies and public works projects that demonstrated Roman power to friend and enemy alike, now contains barely enough gold to pay the Germanic mercenaries whose continued loyalty represents the only barrier between the emperor and immediate deposition or death. The intelligence reports that cross your desk as part of your security responsibilities paint a consistently grim picture of the empire's continuing disintegration throughout its remaining territories. Gaul has been divided among Frankish, Burgundian, and Visigothic kingdoms that maintain only nominal recognition of imperial authority while exercising complete practical independence. Britain has been abandoned entirely, left to defend itself against Saxon invasions with whatever local resources can be mobilized. Spain remains under Visigothic control, while North Africa has been lost to the Vandals, who use their naval power to disrupt Mediterranean trade and raid coastal settlements throughout the former empire. The complex system of treaties, subsidies, and mutual obligations that once maintained relative peace along thousands of miles of frontier has been replaced by simpler relationships based on military strength and immediate advantage. The diplomatic correspondence that once connected Rome to a network of allied kingdoms and client states has dwindled to occasional messages from barbarian rulers who seek imperial recognition for their conquests or demand tribute payments in exchange for refraining from further attacks on Roman territory. The elaborate ceremonial exchanges that once demonstrated imperial prestige and maintained the dignity of Roman diplomatic traditions have been reduced to practical negotiations about military assistance and commercial arrangements. Your personal life has been shaped by the same forces of decline and adaptation that characterize the broader imperial experience. Your marriage to Julia, daughter of a senatorial family whose wealth has evaporated along with their ancestral estates in Gaul, represents both genuine affection and practical alliance between families whose traditional sources of status and security have disappeared. She has adapted to these changed circumstances with remarkable grace, managing your household on a soldier's pay while maintaining the dignity that befits her birth. Your two children, Marcus, now 13, and Livia, 11, face uncertain futures in a world where the advantages of Roman citizenship may prove less valuable than adaptability to whatever political and cultural arrangements emerge from the empire's collapse. Their education reflects the tension between preserving Roman cultural heritage and preparing them for practical realities that may require very different skills and knowledge than those that served previous generations. Marcus shows promise as a student and seems to have inherited your practical intelligence, but his studies now include Germanic languages alongside Latin and Greek, practical crafts as well as traditional academic subjects, and military training that emphasizes survival skills rather than ceremonial duties. The goal is to prepare him for success under various possible future circumstances, rather than assuming that traditional Roman career paths will remain available. Livia displays artistic talents that remind you of Rome's great cultural achievements, but she also learns domestic skills that will serve her well, regardless of her eventual social status, languages that will make her attractive to potential husbands from various cultural backgrounds, and practical knowledge that could enable her to support herself if circumstances require independence. Her education emphasizes adaptability and resilience rather than the narrow accomplishments that were once considered appropriate for upper-class Roman women. The neighborhood where your family lives has experienced the same demographic changes that characterize the city as a whole. Roman families who once considered themselves superior to barbarian immigrants now find themselves living alongside Germanic settlers whose children play with Roman youth in streets where cultural boundaries have blurred beyond recognition. The practical necessities of daily life have created cooperation that transcends theoretical ethnic divisions. Your evening conversations with Julia often focus on practical questions about your children's futures, rather than philosophical discussions about the meaning of imperial collapse. Should Marcus be apprenticed to a craftsman who can teach him skills that will remain valuable regardless of political changes? Should Livia learn more about Germanic customs that might prove useful if barbarian culture becomes dominant in Italy? These decisions reflect the broader challenge facing all Roman families as traditional certainties disappear. The financial crisis that underlies much of the empire's political instability affects every aspect of daily life in Rome, from the imperial palace to the humblest residential districts. The taxation system that once efficiently extracted wealth from productive provinces throughout the Mediterranean has collapsed as those territories have been lost to barbarian conquest or have achieved de facto independence under local strongmen who recognize no superior authority. The complex bureaucracy that administered imperial finances has been reduced to a handful of clerks who struggle to manage resources insufficient to maintain even essential services. The debasement of Roman currency has accelerated to the point where coins contain so little precious metal that merchants prefer to conduct business through barter or by using barbarian gold and silver that retains actual value. Your own family's financial situation reflects these broader economic difficulties. Your salary as a Praetorian centurion, once generous enough to support a comfortable middle-class lifestyle now barely covers basic necessities. You have been forced to supplement your income through private security work for wealthy merchants and small business ventures that take advantage of your military connections and administrative experience. The housing market in Rome has collapsed along with the city's population, creating both opportunities and challenges for families like yours. You were able to purchase a modest house near the Praetorian camp, at a fraction of what it would have cost during more prosperous times. But the property requires constant maintenance that you must perform yourself, since professional services have become prohibitively expensive. The infrastructure that supports daily life continues to deteriorate, despite efforts to maintain essential services with reduced resources and diminished administrative capacity. The aqueduct system that once supplied unlimited fresh water to public baths, fountains, and private homes operates irregularly as maintenance problems accumulate, and the skilled workforce needed for repairs becomes increasingly difficult to find and afford. The elaborate road network that connected Rome to every corner of the empire has fallen into disrepair as traffic declines and the resources needed for maintenance disappear. Travel that was once safe and routine has become dangerous and uncertain, while communication with distant territories has become sporadic and unreliable. The isolation that results from these transportation difficulties compounds other problems by making it impossible to coordinate responses to common challenges. The religious changes occurring throughout the empire add another layer of complexity to the political and social transformations you witness daily. Christianity has become the dominant faith, officially endorsed by the imperial government and embraced by the majority of the population. But the Church itself faces internal divisions and conflicts that reflect broader societal tensions, while the relationship between religious and secular authority remains unsettled and often contentious. The Bishop of Rome has emerged as a significant political figure whose authority sometimes exceeds that of imperial officials, particularly in matters involving social welfare and community organization. Christian institutions provide food distribution, medical care, and educational services that the imperial government can no longer afford to maintain, while Christian charitable activities often prove more effective than official programs in addressing the needs of Rome's suffering population. But theological disputes about the nature of Christ, the authority of bishops, and the proper relationship between church and state create divisions that complicate political alliances and diplomatic relationships. Some barbarian leaders have adopted Christianity, but their versions of the faith often differ significantly from Roman Orthodoxy, creating additional sources of potential conflict in an already complicated political environment. Your own religious beliefs reflect the practical approach you bring to all aspects of life during these turbulent times. You respect Christian teachings about charity and justice, while also maintaining reverence for traditional Roman values of duty and sacrifice. You attend church services with your family, while also participating in military ceremonies that preserve older customs and loyalties, finding spiritual comfort in both traditions without feeling compelled to choose between them. The seasonal cycle continues to provide natural rhythm and continuity despite the political upheaval that characterizes human affairs. The approach of winter brings familiar concerns about heating, fuel, and food supplies, but these practical worries are now complicated by the breakdown of commercial networks that once ensured adequate provisions for the city's population during the cold months. The harvest reports from the countryside around Rome provide mixed news about agricultural production and the prospects for feeding the reduced but still substantial urban population through another winter. Some areas have maintained reasonable productivity despite political instability and occasional raids, but others have suffered from labor shortages, lack of investment in essential improvements, and the general uncertainty that discourages long-term planning. Your responsibilities as a Praetorian officer include coordinating with civilian officials who struggle to maintain basic city services with inadequate resources and limited authority. The prefect of Rome, once one of the most powerful positions in the imperial hierarchy, now exercises influence that barely extends beyond the city walls, while his ability to command obedience even within the capital depends largely on the support of barbarian military commanders. The correspondence that reaches your desk includes reports from Roman communities throughout former imperial territories, describing conditions that illustrate the empire's continuing fragmentation and the various strategies that different groups are developing to cope with the collapse of central authority. Some cities have negotiated protection agreements with barbarian rulers, while others attempt to maintain independence through local military forces or diplomatic alliances with neighboring communities. These reports provide valuable intelligence about political developments that might affect Rome's security, but they also offer insight into alternative approaches to governance and survival that might prove relevant to your own city's future. The most successful communities seem to be those that have found ways to work constructively with barbarian leaders while preserving essential elements of Roman law and administration. As autumn progresses toward winter and the political situation throughout Italy becomes increasingly unstable, you find yourself spending more time considering practical preparations for your family's survival under various possible future scenarios. The current arrangement, with a boy emperor ruling at the sufferance of a barbarian king, cannot continue indefinitely, and everyone understands that significant changes are approaching. Your conversations with other Praetorian officers during off-duty hours often focus on professional questions about future career prospects, rather than abstract discussions of political theory or imperial tradition. Everyone recognizes that the old system is dying, but opinions differ about what might replace it and how individual soldiers might adapt their skills and loyalties to serve whatever government emerges from the current crisis. Some of your colleagues believe that Odoacer will eventually dispense with the fiction of imperial authority and rule directly as King of Italy, creating opportunities for Romans willing to serve barbarian masters faithfully. Others worry that abandoning imperial traditions entirely would eliminate the cultural foundations that have made Roman civilization superior to barbarian alternatives, leading to a decline into primitive tribalism that would benefit no one. A few officers have begun making discreet inquiries about opportunities in the Eastern Empire, where traditional Roman government continues to function effectively and offers career paths for experienced military professionals. But relocation would require abandoning family connections and property investments that have taken years to develop, while success in Constantinople would depend on navigating an unfamiliar political environment where different rules apply. Your own approach to these uncertainties emphasizes practical preparation for various possibilities rather than commitment to any particular political outcome. You have cultivated relationships with officers who serve under barbarian command, while maintaining your reputation for competence and loyalty among Roman officials. Your skills and experience would be valuable to any government that needs effective military and administrative personnel. The approach of another Roman winter brings both familiar challenges and new uncertainties that reflect the empire's declining capacity to maintain the services and security that citizens have traditionally expected. Your family's preparations include not only the usual activities of gathering fuel and preserving food, but also contingency planning for political developments that could require rapid adaptation to dramatically change circumstances. As you walk through the quiet streets of Rome in the evening, returning home from another day of palace duties, you reflect on the strange turns that history has taken during your lifetime. The empire that seemed eternal when you were young has crumbled in the space of 2 decades, while the barbarians your father fought along the frontier now command the armies that defend the capital itself. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and difficult choices as the Western Roman Empire moves inexorably toward its end. But tonight, you return to the warmth of your family home, where familiar routines provide comfort and stability that transcend political uncertainty. Whatever the future holds, you will face it with the same practical determination that has sustained you through 23 years of military service, protecting those you love while adapting to circumstances beyond your control. The winter months pass slowly, each day bringing fresh rumors about Odoacer's intentions, while the young Emperor Romulus grows increasingly anxious about his precarious position. The palace corridors echo with whispered conversations between advisors who understand that the current arrangement cannot continue much longer. You continue your duties as a Praetorian centurion, but the atmosphere of anticipation makes everyone edgy and uncertain about what changes the coming spring might bring. Your family's winter routine provides stability amid the political uncertainty that dominates your professional life. Evening meals become important opportunities for discussion and planning as you and Julia explore various scenarios and their potential consequences for your children's futures. Marcus shows increasing maturity in these conversations, asking perceptive questions about political developments and their implications for his own career prospects. Livia listens carefully to these discussions while focusing on her studies and artistic pursuits, but you can see that she understands the seriousness of the situation. The intelligence reports that cross your desk during these winter months paint an increasingly clear picture of Odoacer's growing confidence and political consolidation throughout Italy. His control over military forces appears complete, while his relationships with other barbarian leaders suggest broad support for whatever actions he might take regarding the imperial office. The reports create mounting tension in the palace as everyone waits for decisions that will determine their future roles in whatever government emerges. The correspondence you maintain with fellow officers serving in other locations provides valuable insight into conditions throughout the remaining territories of the Western Empire and the strategies various groups are developing to cope with imperial collapse. Most describe successful cooperation between Roman personnel and barbarian leaders, when both sides emphasize practical results over theoretical political positions. These accounts suggest that adaptation to new circumstances offers better prospects than stubborn adherence to traditional loyalties that no longer reflect political reality. Your personal preparations for potential political changes include building relationships with officers who serve under barbarian command, while maintaining your reputation for competence and loyalty among Roman officials. The delicate balance requires careful judgment about when to show interest in new opportunities without appearing disloyal to current duties. Your military experience and administrative skills would be valuable to any government that needs effective personnel. But demonstrating that value requires navigating complex political relationships. The religious observances that mark the winter season take on special significance as Romans seek spiritual comfort during a time of unprecedented political upheaval. Church services provide community gathering places where people can share concerns and offer mutual support, while sermons often focus on themes of faith and perseverance that speak directly to the challenges everyone faces. Your family's participation in these religious activities reflects both genuine devotion and practical recognition that community connections provide essential support networks. The economic difficulties that affect all aspects of life in Rome become more pronounced during the winter months, as reduced commercial activity strains already limited resources. Food supplies remain adequate but expensive, while heating fuel becomes increasingly difficult to obtain at reasonable prices. Your family's financial situation requires careful management, as your military salary proves insufficient to cover rising costs for basic necessities. Julia's language teaching business provides supplemental income that helps meet household expenses, while also creating valuable connections with families from various cultural backgrounds. Her students include children from both Roman and Germanic families who recognize the advantages of multilingual education in an increasingly diverse society. The work brings her into contact with people who might prove valuable contacts if political circumstances require career changes or relocation. The palace atmosphere grows more tense as winter progresses and speculation about Odoacer's plans intensifies. Some courtiers whisper that he intends to rule directly as King of Italy, dispensing with the fiction of imperial authority entirely. Others suggest he might prefer to maintain the current arrangement while exercising even more complete control over imperial decisions. The uncertainty affects everyone's behavior and mood throughout the imperial court. Your relationship with the young emperor becomes more personal during these difficult weeks as he seeks advice and companionship from people he trusts. The conversations reveal his intelligence and surprising maturity, while also highlighting the impossible position he occupies. He understands that his survival depends on factors beyond his control, but he maintains dignity and hope despite circumstances that would overwhelm many adults. The boy's education continues despite political uncertainty, but his studies now focus on skills he might need as a private citizen rather than imperial administration. He learns practical crafts that could provide income in various circumstances, languages that might prove useful regardless of future political arrangements, and diplomatic skills that could help him negotiate with whatever authorities emerge from the current crisis. The shift from imperial preparation to survival training symbolizes the broader transformation occurring throughout Roman society. The military exercises that maintain your unit's combat readiness emphasize skills needed for current security challenges rather than traditional ceremonial duties. Urban warfare techniques receive primary attention as street fighting and building clearance operations have become more relevant than parade ground maneuvers. Coordination with barbarian military units requires understanding their tactical methods and communication procedures, skills that would prove valuable under various future governmental arrangements. The first signs that major changes are approaching come in early March when the winter weather begins to break and communication with the outside world becomes easier. Messengers arrive more frequently at the palace, carrying correspondence that suggests increased activity in Odoacer's court and consultations with other barbarian leaders throughout Italy. The young emperor's advisors hold more meetings behind closed doors, their serious expressions indicating that important decisions are being discussed. Your security briefings during this period emphasize the need for heightened vigilance as political tensions increase throughout the city. The possibility of violence from Romans who oppose accommodation with barbarian authority creates new threats that require careful monitoring, while potential conflicts between different barbarian factions add another layer of complexity to security planning. Your duties expand to include intelligence gathering about popular sentiment and potential sources of unrest. The correspondence that arrives at the palace during these weeks includes messages from Roman communities throughout former imperial territories, requesting assistance that the government cannot provide and reporting developments that illustrate the empire's continuing disintegration. Cities that once served as provincial capitals now function as independent city-states that must negotiate directly with barbarian rulers for their survival and prosperity. These reports provide insight into alternative approaches to governance that might prove relevant to Rome's own future. The most successful communities appear to be those that have found ways to work constructively with barbarian leaders while preserving essential elements of Roman law and administration. The examples suggest that cooperation rather than resistance offers the best prospects for maintaining civilized life under changed political circumstances. The formal request for a meeting arrives on a sunny morning in late March, delivered by one of Odoacer's most trusted representatives to the imperial palace. The message is courteous and respectful, requesting a discussion of matters of mutual concern and importance to all inhabitants of Italy. The diplomatic language cannot disguise what everyone understands this meeting will accomplish: the formal end of the Western Roman Empire and the transition to new governmental arrangements. You stand beside the young Emperor Romulus as he reads the message, watching his hands remain steady despite the magnitude of what these words represent. At 16, he has learned to control his emotions and maintain the dignity that his position requires, but you can see the mixture of relief and apprehension in his eyes. The waiting is finally over, and decisions that have been postponed for months are about to be made. The palace immediately responds with intense activity as preparations begin for what everyone knows will be a historic meeting. Your duties as a Praetorian centurion include coordinating security arrangements that will protect both the emperor and Odoacer, while ensuring that the encounter can proceed with the dignity such momentous discussions deserve. The responsibility requires balancing ceremonial requirements with practical security concerns. The choice of location for this crucial meeting requires careful consideration of both symbolic and practical factors. The imperial throne room offers appropriate grandeur for such an important discussion, while providing adequate security for both parties. The familiar setting might also provide some psychological comfort for the young emperor as he faces what may be the most difficult conversation of his life. Your conversations with other Praetorian officers during the preparation period reflect the complex emotions that this historic moment evokes throughout the Imperial Guard. Some men express sadness at witnessing the end of traditions they have served faithfully for decades, while others feel relief that the uncertainty and pretense that have characterized recent years will finally be resolved. Most combine professional duty with personal concern about their own futures under whatever government emerges from this transition. The days leading up to the meeting pass with meticulous attention to protocol and security details that honor both Roman ceremonial traditions and practical requirements for conducting sensitive political negotiations. The throne room is prepared to accommodate witnesses from both Roman and Germanic communities, creating an atmosphere of legitimate political transition rather than conquest or capitulation. The young emperor spends these preparatory days in consultation with his remaining advisors, discussing both the practical details of potential abdication and broader questions about his personal future under new governmental arrangements. These conversations reveal his maturity and intelligence, while also highlighting how unprepared formal imperial education has left him for decisions that would challenge experienced statesmen. Your own preparations include reviewing security protocols with both Roman guards and Odoacer's representatives to ensure that the meeting can proceed without incident while maintaining the dignity that such historic discussions require. The coordination requires diplomacy as much as military expertise, since any misunderstanding could create tensions that might complicate an already delicate situation. Odoacer arrives at the palace precisely at the appointed time on a clear April morning, accompanied by a small retinue of advisors and guards who demonstrate confidence without arrogance. He is an impressive figure, tall, graying, and carrying himself with the natural authority that comes from years of successful leadership. His clothing combines Germanic practicality with Roman elegance, reflecting the cultural synthesis that has characterized his approach to governing Italy. The meeting begins in the throne room with formal courtesies that acknowledge the dignity of both participants, while avoiding elaborate ceremonies that might emphasize the inequality of their actual positions. Odoacer speaks fluent Latin with only a slight accent, and his manner shows both respect for Roman traditions and practical understanding of current political realities. The conversation demonstrates diplomatic skill that would have been impressive in any imperial court. "Your Majesty," Odoacer begins, his voice carrying conviction without hostility. "We both understand that the current arrangement has become impossible to maintain effectively. Italy needs stable government that can provide security and prosperity for all its inhabitants, while you deserve better than to spend your life as a figurehead for decisions made by others. I believe we can resolve this situation in a way that serves everyone's interests while preserving the dignity that both our peoples value highly. The young emperor listens carefully to these words, asking thoughtful questions that demonstrate his grasp of the political complexities involved and the personal implications of various possible arrangements. His responses show wisdom beyond his years and practical intelligence that might have served him well as a real ruler rather than a ceremonial puppet. The dignity with which he conducts himself during this difficult conversation earns visible respect from everyone present. The terms that Odoacer offers prove remarkably generous by the standards of such political transitions throughout history. Romulus will receive a substantial pension that will ensure comfortable living for the rest of his life, allowing him to pursue personal interests without financial worry. He will retain honorary titles that acknowledge his imperial heritage while creating no conflict with new governmental arrangements that Odoacer plans to establish. Most importantly, the young man will be free to choose his own residence and activities, without the restrictions that have confined him to palace life and ceremonial duties. "You are young," Odoacer explains with apparent sincerity, "with many years ahead of you to pursue interests and activities that bring personal satisfaction rather than political burden. Study, travel, friendship, perhaps marriage and family. These opportunities for happiness have been denied to you by circumstances beyond your control. I offer you the chance to live as a private citizen with dignity, security, and genuine freedom to shape your own destiny." The negotiations continue for several hours as details are worked out regarding the transition of authority, the treatment of imperial officials who choose to remain in Rome, and practical arrangements for maintaining governmental continuity during the change. Both sides demonstrate remarkable civility and mutual respect, despite the fundamental transfer of power that these discussions accomplish. The conversation proceeds with dignity that honors both Roman political traditions and Germanic concepts of honorable leadership. The formal abdication ceremony takes place 3 days later, conducted with solemnity that acknowledges the historical significance of the moment while avoiding unnecessary drama or humiliation for anyone involved. The throne room is arranged to accommodate witnesses from both Roman and Germanic communities, creating an atmosphere of legitimate political transition rather than conquest. Representatives from the Church, the Senate, and various civic organizations attend to provide formal recognition of the proceedings. You stand at attention in your position as a Praetorian Guard, as the young emperor speaks the words that officially end the Western Roman Empire. I, Romulus Augustulus, do hereby renounce all claim to imperial authority over the Western territories and transfer governance of Italy to Odoacer, king of the Germanic peoples, trusting that he will rule justly and protect all people entrusted to his care. The words echo in the marble hall, where so many important decisions have been made over the centuries, marking the end of an institution that began with Augustus Caesar 500 years earlier and shaped the development of Western civilization. The boy removes the purple cloak that symbolizes imperial authority and places it carefully on the throne chair, the simple gesture carrying enormous historical weight. Your role during this ceremony combines personal emotion with professional duty as you witness one of history's great turning points. As a representative of the Praetorian Guard, you observe the transfer of authority while ensuring the security of both participants. The responsibility requires maintaining formal composure despite the historical significance of what you are witnessing and the uncertainty about your own future role. The immediate aftermath of the abdication brings surprisingly little change to daily routines in Rome or the palace complex. Odoacer has no interest in disrupting administrative systems that function effectively, while most Romans accept the new arrangements with resignation rather than resistance. The practical benefits of stable government outweigh abstract concerns about imperial tradition for people whose primary worries involve earning livings and protecting their families from the uncertainties that have characterized recent years. Your own transition from imperial guard to royal officer proceeds smoothly as Odoacer recognizes the value of experienced Roman military professionals who can help bridge cultural differences and maintain institutional continuity. The oath you swear to the new king feels strange after 23 years of imperial service, but the practical duties remain largely unchanged. Protection, security, and administrative support require the same skills regardless of which authority they serve. The integration of Roman and Germanic personnel in the new governmental structure creates challenges that require careful management, but also opportunities for innovation and improvement that were impossible under the rigid traditions of imperial administration. Odoacer brings organizational methods and leadership styles that complement Roman administrative expertise, while Roman officials contribute legal knowledge and bureaucratic experience that the barbarian court previously lacked. The former Emperor Romulus handles his changed circumstances with remarkable grace and maturity that impress both Romans and Germans who observe his conduct during the transition period. He expresses genuine gratitude for Odoacer's generous terms and demonstrates no bitterness about losing a position he never truly wanted or controlled. His obvious relief at being freed from impossible responsibilities seems to outweigh any regret about imperial status that brought only ceremonial dignity without real authority. The announcement of the political transition to the broader population of Rome produces reactions that range from indifference to quiet satisfaction among citizens who have grown weary of uncertainty and ineffective government. Most people have understood for months that imperial authority existed only as a fiction, while Odoacer's effective governance has already provided more stability and security than they experienced under recent emperors who lacked both resources and real power. Your family adapts to these political changes with the same practical flexibility that has sustained them through years of imperial decline and uncertainty. Your children continue their education with renewed optimism about future opportunities under stable government, while Julia expands her business activities to serve new governmental structures that create demand for her language teaching services. The stability that effective leadership provides benefits everyone regardless of their cultural background or previous political loyalties. The economic improvements that result from stable government become apparent within the weeks of the political transition, as merchants and farmers gain confidence in consistent law enforcement and reliable contract resolution. Trade increases significantly as commercial networks that had been disrupted by years of political instability begin functioning normally again. Agricultural production shows signs of recovery as farmers feel secure enough to invest in improvements they had postponed during uncertain times. As spring turns towards summer under the new governmental arrangements, you find yourself cautiously optimistic about the future for the first time in years. The transition has proceeded more smoothly than anyone dared hope, while the practical benefits of effective leadership become more evident with each passing day. Your family's prospects appear brighter under Odoacer's kingdom than they were during the final chaotic years of imperial rule, and you begin to believe that adaptation to changed circumstances might prove less difficult than you had feared. The administrative reforms that Odoacer implements during his first months as king demonstrate both respect for Roman traditions and willingness to innovate where improvements are clearly possible. Tax collection becomes significantly more efficient as corruption is reduced through systematic oversight and accountability measures that previous imperial administrations had been unable or unwilling to enforce. Military organization is streamlined to eliminate redundancies and improve coordination while maintaining the defensive capabilities that Italy needs to protect itself against external threats. Your new duties as a royal officer include serving as a liaison between Roman civilians and Germanic officials who are still learning to work together effectively despite their different cultural backgrounds and administrative traditions. The cultural differences that initially create misunderstandings and occasional conflicts gradually diminish as people focus on practical cooperation rather than abstract political theory or ethnic prejudices. Success in achieving common goals builds trust and mutual respect that transcends traditional divisions. The legal system continues to operate according to established Roman law for most civil matters involving commercial transactions, property rights, and family disputes, while incorporating Germanic customs and concepts for certain types of criminal cases where community-based approaches to justice prove more effective than traditional Roman punishments. This hybrid approach preserves familiar procedures for most legal business, while introducing alternative methods that often produce better results for maintaining public order and resolving conflicts. The construction projects that Odoacer authorizes during the summer months demonstrate his commitment to maintaining and improving the infrastructure that makes civilized urban life possible in a major city like Rome. Aqueduct repairs that have been postponed for years due to lack of adequate funding are completed using resources that efficient administration and improved tax collection make available for essential public works. Road maintenance throughout the city receives attention that improves transportation and communication, while also providing employment for skilled craftsmen. Your family benefits directly from these infrastructure improvements as public services that had deteriorated dramatically during the final years of imperial decline are gradually restored to acceptable standards. Water supplies become more reliable as aqueduct systems receive proper maintenance, and skilled technicians are employed to address problems that had been neglected for years. Street cleaning and waste removal resume on regular schedules, that improve public health conditions and make neighborhoods more pleasant places to live. The educational opportunities available to your children expand significantly as political stability allows long-term planning and investment in institutional development that had been impossible during the uncertain final years of imperial rule. Schools that had closed due to financial difficulties and declining enrollment reopen with curricula designed to prepare students for careers in the evolving governmental and economic systems that are taking shape under royal authority. The emphasis on practical skills and cultural adaptability serves students well regardless of their ethnic backgrounds or family circumstances, while instruction in multiple languages prepares young people for success in an increasingly cosmopolitan society, where communication across cultural boundaries has become essential for most types of advanced work. Your son Marcus thrives in this educational environment, demonstrating academic ability while also developing practical skills that will serve him well in whatever career he chooses to pursue. Your daughter Livia shows remarkable artistic talents that flourish as cultural patronage revives under stable government that has both the resources and the inclination to support creative activities. She also develops practical intelligence and communication skills that will serve her well in managing household responsibilities or small business ventures that might become necessary or attractive in the future. Her education emphasizes adaptability and cultural sensitivity that will make her an attractive marriage prospect for families from various backgrounds. The seasonal celebrations that mark the passage of time evolve during these months to incorporate both Roman and Germanic traditions in ways that strengthen community bonds, while acknowledging the cultural diversity that has become a defining characteristic of Odoacer's kingdom. Spring planting ceremonies combine Roman agricultural rituals with Germanic seasonal traditions, while summer festivals blend entertainment customs from both cultures in celebrations that appeal to diverse audiences. Your family participates enthusiastically in these evolving festivals, which provide opportunities for social interaction with neighbors from various ethnic and cultural backgrounds. The shared experiences create memories and relationships that help everyone adapt to changing circumstances while building the social cohesion that supports political stability. Your children develop friendships with young people whose families come from throughout Europe and beyond, creating a cosmopolitan network that will serve them throughout their lives. The economic recovery that becomes increasingly evident during the summer months exceeds anything Rome experienced during its final imperial decades, as trade routes that had been disrupted by warfare and political instability reopen under the security that effective government provides. Merchants express growing confidence in consistent law enforcement and reliable contract resolution, while farmers begin making investments in land improvement and equipment that they had postponed during years of uncertainty about property rights and political stability. The correspondence you receive from former colleagues who have found employment with barbarian leaders in other regions provides valuable information about career opportunities and working conditions under non-Roman authority throughout the former empire. Most describe satisfactory relationships with new employers who respect Roman military expertise and administrative experience, while offering advancement opportunities that had become rare under imperial administration during its final dysfunctional years. These accounts help reduce lingering concerns about the personal consequences of political changes while providing insight into successful strategies for adapting professional skills to new governmental systems. The reports suggest that Romans who approach these transitions with flexibility and practical intelligence generally find opportunities for career advancement and personal prosperity that exceed what was available under the declining imperial system. The military organization that emerges under Odoacer's leadership combines the best elements of Roman discipline and administrative efficiency with Germanic tactical flexibility and personal loyalty networks to create armed forces that are both effective in combat and reliable in their political allegiances. Your experience as a Praetorian officer provides valuable insight into the strengths and weaknesses of different military approaches, knowledge that proves useful in training programs designed to integrate Roman and Germanic personnel. The intelligence network that supports royal security operations expands significantly beyond the limited capabilities that existed during the empire's final years, establishing systematic communication with other barbarian kingdoms that provides crucial information about political developments throughout former Roman territories. Diplomatic correspondence maintains relationships that support peace and commercial cooperation, while also providing early warning about potential military threats. The reports you review describe conditions in other post-imperial kingdoms that help you appreciate the relative success of Odoacer's governmental approach compared to alternative strategies being attempted elsewhere. The Visigothic kingdom in Spain has achieved remarkable stability and prosperity through similar integration of Roman administrative methods with Germanic leadership traditions, while emerging political arrangements in Gaul show mixed results depending on how effectively different groups manage cultural synthesis. These examples reinforce your growing conviction that the collapse of imperial authority has created opportunities for governmental innovation, rather than simply destroying civilized institutions and social order. Effective leadership that combines the best elements of different traditions while adapting to local circumstances can build new political arrangements that preserve valuable cultural achievements while serving contemporary needs more effectively than rigid adherence to outdated imperial models. The religious life of the kingdom continues to center around Christian churches, but theological emphasis shifts somewhat to reflect new political realities and the need for unity among diverse populations. Sermons stress themes of cooperation and mutual respect that support the cultural synthesis occurring throughout the kingdom, while church-sponsored charitable activities help integrate different communities by focusing on shared humanitarian concerns rather than ethnic or political differences. Your family's participation in religious activities reflects both genuine faith and practical understanding that community connections provide essential support networks that become even more valuable during periods of significant social change. Church attendance brings you into contact with neighbors from different cultural backgrounds while reinforcing shared values that make productive cooperation possible across traditional boundaries. The former Emperor Romulus makes occasional visits to Rome from his comfortable retirement villa near Naples, always receiving respectful treatment from both officials and ordinary citizens who admire his dignified handling of the abdication process and his obvious contentment with private life. His example demonstrates that personal happiness and fulfillment can flourish even when political circumstances require significant adjustments to life plans and expectations. These visits also provide opportunities for informal discussions about the transition process and its ongoing effects on Roman society. The former emperor's perspectives on political developments prove surprisingly insightful, reflecting intelligence and wisdom that might have served the empire well if circumstances had allowed him to exercise real authority rather than serving as a powerless figurehead for decisions made by others. The cultural developments that characterize the early months of Odoacer's kingdom reflect the creative possibilities that emerge when different traditions combine productively, rather than simply competing for dominance over social and artistic expression. Literature, art, music, and craftsmanship begin showing influences from both Roman and Germanic sources, while creating new forms that serve contemporary tastes and reflect the unique character of the emerging political entity. Your family's personal library grows to include books that represent this cultural synthesis. Roman classical works alongside Germanic legends and folk tales, Christian theological texts combined with practical manuals on agriculture, craftsmanship, and administration. The collection reflects the breadth of knowledge that educated people need to succeed in a diverse society while maintaining connection to valuable traditions from the past that continue to provide wisdom and inspiration. The judicial innovations that develop during these months demonstrate how different legal traditions can be combined effectively to serve justice while maintaining public order and community harmony. Roman civil law continues to govern most commercial transactions and property disputes because of its sophistication and predictability, while Germanic criminal law concepts emphasizing restoration and community responsibility often prove more effective than traditional Roman approaches for resolving conflicts and preventing future problems. Your role in developing these legal innovations provides deep intellectual satisfaction as you help create institutions that genuinely serve the diverse population of the kingdom, rather than simply maintaining traditional procedures that may no longer fit contemporary circumstances. The work requires understanding both Roman jurisprudence and Germanic customs, while finding ways to blend them that respect the essential principles of each tradition, while producing practical results. The summer heat brings no political tension or uncertainty, as the new governmental arrangements prove their effectiveness through practical results that benefit virtually everyone in the kingdom. The contrast with previous years, when political instability made every season a source of anxiety about potential upheavals, creates a sense of relief and optimism that affects all aspects of daily life in Rome and throughout Italy. Your evening conversations with Julia often focus on the remarkable transformation that has occurred in such a relatively short time, and speculation about what future developments might bring for your family and the broader community. The changes have exceeded your most optimistic expectations, while your children's educational and career opportunities appear brighter than seemed possible during the chaotic final years of imperial rule, when the future seemed bleak and uncertain. As the first summer under Odoacer's kingdom draws toward a close, you reflect on the strange and wonderful turns that history has taken during the past year. The Western Roman Empire has ended, but civilized life continues and even flourishes under new political arrangements that prove more effective than anyone dared hope. Your family has not only survived this historic transition, but has actually prospered as stability and effective government create opportunities that had seemed impossible under imperial decline. 2 years have passed since the abdication of Romulus Augustulus, and you now serve as a senior administrator in Odoacer's Kingdom of Italy. The transformation from Praetorian centurion to royal official required significant adjustment to new responsibilities and different approaches to governance. But your military experience and practical intelligence have proven invaluable in building effective institutions that serve the diverse population under your authority. Your office overlooks the same Roman streets you once patrolled as an imperial guard, but the view reveals a city that has begun to recover dramatically from decades of decline and neglect. Construction projects restore essential infrastructure, while new buildings reflect the cultural synthesis that has become the defining characteristic of Odoacer's kingdom. Roman architectural principles combine with Germanic decorative elements to create structures that honor both traditions while serving contemporary needs. The administrative work that occupies your days involves coordinating between Roman legal traditions and Germanic customs to create governmental systems that function effectively for everyone, regardless of their cultural background. Civil disputes continue to be resolved according to established Roman law because of its sophistication and predictability, while criminal cases often employ Germanic concepts of compensation and community responsibility that prove more effective than traditional punishments for maintaining social harmony. Your family has prospered remarkably under the stable conditions that effective government provides throughout the kingdom. Julia's business teaching languages to children from mixed marriages has expanded significantly as more families recognize the practical advantages of cultural adaptability in a diverse society. Your household income now substantially exceeds what you earned as a Praetorian officer, while improved security allows long-term financial planning that was impossible during the empire's chaotic final years. Your son Marcus, now 15, has developed into an impressive young man whose abilities reflect the educational opportunities available under the new governmental system. His fluency in Latin, Greek, and 2 Germanic dialects makes him valuable for diplomatic and commercial work that requires communication across cultural boundaries, while his studies in mathematics, law, and administration prepare him for either governmental service or private business ventures in the expanding economy. Your daughter Livia, 13, shows exceptional artistic talents that flourish in the culturally diverse environment of Odoacer's court and the broader kingdom. She creates beautiful textiles that combine Roman technical methods with Germanic design patterns, while her musical abilities encompass both classical Roman compositions and traditional barbarian songs. Her education emphasizes practical skills alongside artistic development, preparing her for various future possibilities in a society that values adaptability. The seasonal festivals that mark the passage of time have evolved into truly synthetic celebrations that strengthen community bonds while acknowledging the cultural diversity that enriches daily life throughout the kingdom. Spring planting ceremonies combine Roman agricultural rituals with Germanic seasonal traditions, while autumn harvest celebrations blend Thanksgiving customs from both cultures in events that bring together families from all backgrounds. Your family participates enthusiastically in these festivals, which provide opportunities for social interaction with neighbors whose origins span the known world. The shared experiences create memories and relationships that transcend political arrangements and cultural differences, while your children develop friendships that will serve them throughout their lives regardless of future political developments or social changes. The economic prosperity that has developed under stable government significantly exceeds anything Rome experienced during its final imperial decades. Trade routes that had been disrupted by warfare and political instability have reopened as merchants gain confidence in consistent law enforcement and reliable contract resolution. Agricultural production has increased substantially as farmers invest in improvements without fear of arbitrary confiscation or military disruption that characterized the empire's declining years. The construction projects that demonstrate the kingdom's commitment to long-term development include both restoration of Roman infrastructure and creation of new facilities that serve current needs more effectively than ancient systems designed for different circumstances. The aqueduct system has been thoroughly repaired and extended to serve areas that had lost water service during the imperial decline, while new public buildings combine Roman engineering principles with Germanic architectural innovations. Your professional responsibilities include overseeing public works projects that employ both Roman and Germanic craftsmen working together to achieve common goals. The collaboration produces excellent results while also building personal relationships that strengthen community unity across ethnic lines. Shared success in practical endeavors proves more effective than abstract political theory in creating genuine cooperation between different cultural groups. The military organization of the kingdom reflects the same synthesis of traditions that characterizes other governmental institutions. Roman discipline and administrative methods combine with Germanic tactical flexibility and personal loyalty networks to create armed forces that are both effective in combat and reliable in their political allegiances. Your experience as a Praetorian officer provides valuable insight into military organization that helps integrate different approaches successfully. The intelligence network that supports royal security operations has expanded far beyond the limited capabilities that existed during the empire's final years. Systematic communication with other barbarian kingdoms provides detailed information about political developments throughout former Roman territories, while diplomatic correspondence maintains relationships that support peace and commercial prosperity throughout the region. The reports you receive regularly describe conditions in other post-imperial kingdoms that help you appreciate the remarkable success of Odoacer's governmental approach compared to alternative strategies being attempted elsewhere. The Visigothic kingdom in Spain has achieved impressive stability and prosperity through similar integration of Roman administrative methods with Germanic leadership traditions, while the Ostrogothic kingdom emerging in the Balkans shows promise of following comparable patterns. These examples demonstrate convincingly that the collapse of imperial authority has created opportunities for governmental innovation, rather than simply destroying civilized institutions and social order. Effective leadership that combines the best elements of different traditions while adapting to local circumstances can build new political arrangements that preserve valuable cultural achievements while serving contemporary needs more effectively than rigid adherence to outdated models. The educational system that has developed under royal patronage emphasizes practical skills and cultural adaptability that prepare students for success in the evolving society. Schools teach both Roman and Germanic languages while providing instruction in mathematics, law, various crafts, and administrative procedures. The curriculum reflects clear understanding that future success will depend on competence and adaptability rather than inherited status or narrow cultural knowledge. Your children's education exemplifies these principles as they develop capabilities that will serve them well regardless of future political changes or social developments. Marcus shows particular aptitude for legal studies and administrative work that might lead to a career in governmental service or private law practice. Livia's artistic talents could lead to court patronage or private commissions from wealthy families who appreciate quality craftsmanship and cultural sophistication. The religious life of the kingdom has evolved to accommodate both Roman and Germanic Christian traditions, while maintaining theological unity that supports social cohesion across ethnic boundaries. Church services incorporate liturgical elements from various traditions, while sermons emphasize universal Christian values that transcend cultural divisions. The synthesis creates worship experiences that appeal to diverse congregations while reinforcing shared moral principles. Your family's participation in religious activities reflects both genuine faith and practical understanding that community connections provide essential support networks that become even more valuable during periods of significant social change. Church attendance brings you into contact with neighbors from different cultural backgrounds, while reinforcing shared values that make productive cooperation possible across traditional boundaries. The correspondence you maintain with former colleagues who serve in other locations throughout the former Roman world provides valuable insight into the broader transformation occurring across Europe and the Mediterranean region. Most report successful adaptation to new political arrangements, particularly when they emphasize practical cooperation rather than rigid adherence to traditional loyalties that no longer reflect political realities. The letters you receive from your brother, who now serves in the Visigothic army in Spain, describe career opportunities and working conditions that substantially exceed what was available during the empire's final years. His detailed accounts of systematic governmental reforms and economic development suggest that effective barbarian leadership can achieve results that eluded imperial administrators who were constrained by outdated traditions and institutional rigidity. The seasonal cycle continues to provide natural rhythm that transcends human political arrangements, while marking the passage of time in ways that connect present circumstances to eternal patterns. Spring brings renewed energy for construction projects and agricultural activities, while summer allows extended travel and diplomatic communication that strengthen relationships throughout the region. Autumn harvests demonstrate the prosperity that stable government makes possible, while winter provides opportunities for reflection and planning. Your evening conversations with Julia often focus on the remarkable changes that have occurred during the past few years, and speculation about what future developments might bring for your family and the broader community. The transformation from imperial decline to royal prosperity has exceeded your most optimistic expectations, while your children's opportunities surpass anything that seemed possible during the final chaotic years of Roman rule, when the future appeared bleak and uncertain. The former Emperor Romulus has established himself as a respected scholar and patron of learning in his retirement villa near Naples, where the pleasant climate and rural setting provide a peaceful environment for private study and scholarly pursuits. His occasional visits to Rome always generate friendly interest from citizens who continue to admire his dignified handling of the abdication process and his obvious contentment with private life that allows him to pursue personal interests. His example demonstrates convincingly that personal happiness and fulfillment can flourish even when political circumstances require significant adjustments to life plans and career expectations. The wisdom and maturity he has shown throughout the transition process have earned widespread respect, while also providing a positive model for other Romans who face the need to adapt to changed circumstances. The cultural developments that characterize Odoacer's kingdom reflect the creative possibilities that emerge when different traditions combine productively rather than simply competing for dominance over artistic and intellectual expression. Literature, art, music, and craftsmanship show clear influences from both Roman and Germanic sources, while creating new forms that serve contemporary tastes and reflect the unique character of the emerging political entity. Your family's personal library has expanded significantly to include books that represent this cultural synthesis. Roman classical works alongside Germanic legends and epic poems, Christian theological texts combined with practical manuals on agriculture, craftsmanship, and administrative procedures. The collection reflects the breadth of knowledge that educated people need to succeed in a diverse society, while maintaining connection to valuable traditions from the past. The architectural projects that have transformed public spaces throughout the kingdom combine restoration of Roman monuments with construction of new buildings that serve contemporary functions while honoring historical achievements. Forums and basilicas maintain their traditional roles while adapting to current governmental needs, while new structures reflect Germanic design principles applied to Roman building techniques and engineering knowledge. The synthesis creates urban environments that honor the past while serving present requirements more effectively than either tradition could achieve independently. The visual harmony that results from this architectural integration provides daily evidence of successful cultural cooperation while creating beautiful spaces that enhance the quality of urban life for all residents regardless of their ethnic background. The technological innovations that result from cultural synthesis exceed what either Roman or Germanic traditions achieved independently during previous centuries. Roman engineering principles combine with Germanic metalworking techniques to produce agricultural tools and weapons that surpass previous standards of effectiveness and durability. Construction methods blend Roman architectural knowledge with Germanic building traditions to create structures that are both beautiful and practical. Your son Marcus has begun apprenticing with a master engineer who combines Roman mathematical training with Germanic practical experience in ways that produce superior results in various types of projects. The education provides him with skills that will be valuable throughout his career, while also exposing him to collaborative approaches that characterize the kingdom's most successful enterprises. Your daughter Livia has attracted attention from wealthy patrons who commission artwork that reflects the cultural synthesis occurring throughout the kingdom. Her tapestries and textiles combine Roman technical sophistication with Germanic design sensibilities to create pieces that appeal to collectors from various cultural backgrounds. The recognition has boosted her confidence while providing income that contributes significantly to family prosperity. The military victories that Odoacer's forces have achieved against hostile neighbors demonstrate the effectiveness of the kingdom's governmental and military systems when tested by external challenges. Recent campaigns against raiders from the north have been conducted with efficiency and success that exceeded imperial military capabilities during the final decades of Roman rule, when resources and morale had deteriorated significantly. Your involvement in planning these military operations has drawn on your experience as a Praetorian officer, while also requiring adaptation to new tactical approaches that reflect Germanic military traditions and organizational methods. The synthesis produces strategies that combine Roman logistical capabilities with barbarian flexibility and personal motivation. The consistent success validates the broader governmental approach that emphasizes practical cooperation over rigid adherence to traditional methods. The urban development that has transformed Rome during the past few years reflects both restoration of imperial grandeur and creation of new facilities that serve current needs more effectively than ancient systems designed for different circumstances. Public buildings combine classical Roman architecture with Germanic decorative elements, while residential districts accommodate families from various cultural backgrounds in neighborhoods that promote social integration. The construction provides employment for skilled craftsmen, while creating infrastructure that supports continued economic growth and population increase. Your family's residence has been expanded and improved to reflect your increased prosperity and social status under the new governmental system. The additions blend Roman architectural principles with Germanic domestic arrangements to create living spaces that are both comfortable and impressive. The intellectual developments that characterize the kingdom include both preservation of classical learning and creation of new knowledge that reflects contemporary circumstances and challenges. Libraries maintain Roman texts while also collecting Germanic oral traditions that are being committed to writing for the first time. Scholars from different cultural backgrounds collaborate on projects that advance understanding in various fields of knowledge. Your own studies during evening hours have expanded beyond military and administrative subjects to include philosophy, history, and literature that help you understand the broader significance of the changes you have witnessed and participated in during these remarkable years. The reading provides perspective on historical patterns, while also offering insights that prove useful in your professional responsibilities. The agricultural innovations that have increased food production throughout the kingdom demonstrate how practical cooperation between different groups can achieve results that benefit everyone involved. Roman farming techniques combined with Germanic animal husbandry methods to create agricultural systems that produce abundant harvests while maintaining soil fertility for sustainable, long-term production. The success provides food security for urban populations while creating agricultural surplus that can be traded with other regions for manufactured goods and luxury items. The prosperity extends throughout rural areas as well as cities, creating broad-based economic growth that strengthens political stability while improving living conditions for all social classes. The social developments that have occurred under stable government include both preservation of valuable traditions and creation of new customs that serve contemporary needs while honoring cultural diversity. Marriage ceremonies blend Roman legal requirements with Germanic celebration traditions, while burial practices combine Christian theological principles with cultural elements from both backgrounds. The synthetic customs strengthen community bonds, while acknowledging diverse heritage in ways that promote social harmony rather than cultural conflict. Your family's participation in these evolving social customs reflects both genuine appreciation for cultural diversity and practical understanding that adaptation promotes success in the changing social environment. Your children have learned to navigate different cultural contexts while maintaining their own identity and values derived from their Roman heritage and Christian faith. The flexibility prepares them for whatever future circumstances they might encounter, while also providing them with social skills that will serve them well in personal and professional relationships throughout their lives. The artistic achievements that have flourished under royal patronage exceed anything produced during the empire's final decades, when political instability and economic decline discouraged creative expression and cultural patronage. Painters, sculptors, musicians, and writers create works that reflect the cultural synthesis occurring throughout the kingdom, while also maintaining connection to classical traditions that continue to provide inspiration and guidance. The artistic renaissance demonstrates that creative expression can flourish under barbarian leadership when it receives appropriate support and encouragement from governmental authorities who understand the importance of cultural development for social harmony and political legitimacy. The quality of artistic production rivals the best achievements of earlier imperial periods while reflecting contemporary circumstances and values. As you walk through the streets of Rome in the evening, returning home from another day of administrative duties in service to the kingdom, you reflect on the remarkable transformation that has occurred during the past few years. The city that seemed doomed to decline and abandonment has recovered vitality and purpose under leadership that many Romans initially viewed with suspicion and fear. The children playing in neighborhood squares speak multiple languages fluently and show no awareness of the ethnic distinctions that once seemed so important to their parents and grandparents. Their easy friendship across cultural boundaries suggests that the future will be shaped by cooperation rather than competition between different groups. The sight fills you with optimism about the society your children will inherit and the opportunities they will have to contribute to its continued development. The merchant activity that fills the marketplaces demonstrates prosperity that substantially exceeds anything Rome experienced during its final imperial decades. Goods from throughout the Mediterranean region and beyond create abundance that benefits everyone, while also generating tax revenues that support continued governmental improvements and public works projects. The commercial success validates the political arrangements that make such prosperity possible, while also providing practical evidence that effective barbarian leadership can achieve better results than imperial administration during its period of decline and dysfunction. The transformation has been so complete that it seems almost impossible to remember how desperate circumstances were just a few years ago. Your family's evening meal provides opportunity for conversation about the day's activities and planning for future projects that reflect the optimism and confidence that stable government has made possible. Marcus describes his engineering studies and the fascinating technical problems he is learning to solve, while Livia shows examples of new artistic techniques she has mastered and commissions she has received. Julia reports on the continued expansion of her business and the interesting families she has met through her teaching activities. These domestic conversations reflect the broader success that characterizes life under Odoacer's kingdom, where personal growth, professional achievement, and family prosperity have all flourished under governmental arrangements that many people initially viewed with skepticism or fear. The correspondence that arrives regularly from friends and colleagues throughout the former Roman world provides valuable perspective on conditions in other regions and confirmation that similar success in adapting to new political arrangements is possible when approached with flexibility and practical intelligence rather than rigid adherence to outdated traditions and expectations. Most report experiences comparable to your own. Initial uncertainty followed by gradual recognition that barbarian leadership often provides more effective government than imperial administration during its final dysfunctional years. The accounts suggest that the collapse of imperial authority has created opportunities rather than simply destroying civilized institutions and social order. The religious services that you attend with your family on Sundays bring together congregations that represent the full cultural diversity of the kingdom while maintaining unity around shared Christian values that transcend ethnic differences and political arrangements. The worship experiences demonstrate how universal principles can unite diverse populations when they are applied with wisdom and sensitivity to local circumstances. The community that emerges from such gatherings provides both spiritual comfort and practical support networks that enrich daily life while also strengthening social bonds that support political stability. The friendships formed through religious participation often prove valuable for business and professional purposes, while also providing personal relationships that enhance family life. As you prepare for sleep in the comfort of your expanded home, surrounded by evidence of prosperity and security that effective government has provided for your family, you feel profound gratitude for the adaptation and perseverance that have carried you through one of history's great transitions. The future holds promise for continued growth and development under leadership that has proven both capable and benevolent. The stars that shine through your bedroom window are the same ones that guided Roman legions across the known world and marked the festivals of emperors who ruled vast territories from Britain to Mesopotamia. Their unchanging patterns provide continuity that transcends political arrangements, while reminding you that human institutions rise and fall within larger cycles of time and historical change. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and opportunities as the kingdom continues to evolve and develop its distinctive character that combines the best elements of different traditions. Your children will pursue their education and career preparation, while you and Julia continue building the successful life you have created through practical intelligence and willingness to adapt to changing circumstances. The Roman Empire has ended, but the values that made Roman civilization admirable, justice, order, respect for law, and concern for public welfare, continue under different political arrangements that may actually serve these ideals more effectively than imperial institutions during their period of decline. Perhaps these essential human virtues represent the true foundation of civilization, more durable than any particular government or cultural tradition. In your dreams tonight, you may see visions of the future that awaits your children in a world where the best elements of different traditions combine to create societies that serve human needs, while honoring the wisdom accumulated over centuries of historical experience. The transformation you have witnessed suggests that such dreams may prove more realistic than the fears that once seemed so overwhelming during the empire's final chaotic years. The end of the Roman Empire has become the beginning of something new and promising, built on foundations that honor both continuity and beneficial change. Your family's successful adaptation to these remarkable circumstances provides confidence that the same qualities of intelligence, flexibility, and determination will serve them well in whatever future developments may bring to this transformed world you have helped to create.